The Galactic Assembly Hall was filled with representatives from over 300 species. The massive dome-shaped building floated in neutral space, far from any single empire's territory. Today was a special session. The topic was simple but controversial. Should the ban on humans be lifted? Ambassador of the Empire stood at the central platform. His four arms moved in dramatic gestures as he spoke. They were tall, thin creatures with blue skin and large black eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy for their military strength. "This ban is ridiculous," announced to the assembly. "The humans have been quarantined to their tiny solar system for 300 years. 300 years. And for what? Because our ancestors were afraid of a young species that had barely learned to travel between stars." Laughter echoed through the hall. Many representatives found this amusing. The Empire had conquered 40 star systems. Their warships were feared across the galaxy. Why would they fear a species that had been trapped on a few rocky planets for centuries? Elder of the Collective raised one of his tentacles to speak. The Collective was an ancient species. They had been traveling through space when most other species were still living in caves. Was over 800 years old. "Ambassador," said slowly, his voice carrying the weight of centuries, "the ban exists for good reason. I was young when we first encountered the humans. I remember what happened. I advise caution." Waved his four arms dismissively. "With respect, Elder, times have changed. The fleet is the strongest in the galaxy. We have weapons that can destroy entire planets. What could these primitive humans possibly do to threaten us?" More laughter filled the hall. Several other ambassadors voiced their agreement with. The insect-like creatures known for their hive intelligence clicked their approval. The beings made of living crystal hummed in support. "The ban is an embarrassment," shouted Ambassador of the. "It makes us look weak and afraid. Let us remove it and prove to the galaxy that we fear nothing." Elder remained silent for a moment. His large, ancient eyes looked around the assembly hall. He saw the arrogance in their faces. He saw how they laughed and mocked. They did not understand. They had not seen what he had seen. "Very well," said finally. "Before we vote, I request permission to show the assembly something. Something that has been locked in the Collective's archives for 3 centuries. It is the reason the ban was created in the first place." Smiled confidently. "Of course, Elder, show us these ancient recordings. Let us see what terrified our ancestors so much." The lights in the assembly hall dimmed. A massive holographic screen appeared in the center of the room. Input commands into his device, and the footage began to play. The recording was old. The quality was not as sharp as modern technology, but what it showed was clear enough. The scene opened on a planet. Beautiful forests covered its surface. Rivers sparkled in the sunlight. Cities of advanced design sat among the natural landscape. This was Prime, 300 years ago. "This is impossible," whispered. "Prime was never attacked." Watch said simply. The footage continued. Massive ships appeared in the sky above the planet. They were not ships. They were human ships, crude by today's standards but deadly in their purpose. The human fleet had somehow bypassed every defense system and arrived directly above the capital city. On the ground, soldiers mobilized. They were confident. Their weapons were superior. Their numbers were greater. They had fought many species before and always won. Then the humans landed. The assembly hall grew silent as they watched what happened next. The humans did not fight like any species the galaxy had ever seen. They did not form organized lines. They did not follow predictable patterns. They adapted. They changed tactics constantly. When one approach failed, they immediately tried another. But that was not the most disturbing part. A soldier struck a human with a blast that should have been fatal. The human fell, but moments later the human got back up. Blood poured from wounds that would have killed any other species. Yet the human kept fighting, and fighting, and fighting. Their pain tolerance is impossible, Ambassador said, her insect voice trembling. No biological creature can sustain such damage and continue functioning. The footage showed more. Humans fighting for hours without rest. Humans carrying injured companions while still engaging in combat. Humans refusing to surrender even when surrounded and outnumbered. They did not stop. They would not stop. One human soldier was captured on the recording speaking to his team. The translation appeared at the bottom of the screen. They think if they hurt us enough, we will give up. They do not understand. Pain makes us angry, and when we are angry, we do not stop until our enemies are destroyed. The assembly hall was completely silent now. No more laughter, no more mocking. The footage shifted to show the aftermath. The great city of the lay in ruins. Millions had died. The most powerful military force of that era had been brought to its knees by a species that had only recently left their home planet. And then came the worst part. The recording showed what the humans did to the prisoners. Not torture, something far more disturbing. The humans studied them, learned from them, took their technology and improved it. Within weeks, the humans had reverse-engineered weapons and made them more deadly. They learned too fast, Elder explained as the footage continued. In one generation, they advance more than most species do in 10. What takes us centuries, they accomplish in decades. Every defeat makes them stronger. Every enemy teaches them something new. The next segment of the footage showed human expansion. After the defeat, humans spread to other systems. Each time they encountered resistance, they absorbed more knowledge, more technology. Their ships became faster. Their weapons became more powerful. Their strategies became more unpredictable. Species that surrendered were treated with surprising kindness. The humans made allies of former enemies. They traded fairly. They shared resources. But species that continued to fight faced total annihilation. The coalition of 7 tried to stop them, narrated. 7 of the most powerful empires of that time joined forces against humanity. They had 3,000 warships. The humans had 400. The footage showed the battle. It lasted 6 days. By the end, the human fleet had lost nearly half its ships, but the coalition of 7 no longer existed. Not one of their vessels remained intact. How? Ambassador asked weakly. His voice had lost all its confidence. They do something no other species does, explained. They sacrifice themselves willingly for their companions. Human pilots flew their damaged ships directly into our vessels. Human soldiers jumped onto enemy troops knowing they would die just to give their friends a few extra seconds. They call it bravery. We call it madness. The footage showed interviews with captured humans. Scientists from the collective had studied them carefully. Their bodies produce chemicals when they are in danger, a collective scientist explained in the recording. These chemicals increase their strength, speed their reflexes, and reduce their pain. Other species have similar responses, but humans produce 10 times the amount. Fear makes them more dangerous, not less. Another scientist continued. They also have something called spite. When you hurt a human, they do not simply seek to escape or defend themselves. They seek revenge. They will endure any hardship, make any sacrifice, just to see their enemy suffer. It is unlike anything we have encountered. The footage ended with a final message. It was from the human commander who had led the campaign against the coalition of 7. He stood before a camera, his face from battle, his uniform torn and bloody. "We did not want this war," the human said. "We came in peace. We asked to trade and exchange knowledge. You attacked us because we were different. You tried to enslave us because we were young. Now you know the truth. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. We gave you a chance for peace and you chose violence. So violence you shall have, until you learn, until you understand, until you never threaten us again." The screen went dark. The assembly hall remained silent for a long time. Elder spoke again. After the War of First Contact, the surviving empires agreed to contain humanity. We could not defeat them. We could only hope to slow their expansion. The quarantine was established. We blocked their access to faster-than-light technology. We surrounded their solar system with monitoring stations. We prayed they would never find a way out. Ambassador finally found his voice. And now, what of them now? His ancient eyes showed something that looked like fear. Our monitoring stations have detected unusual activity near their system, energy signatures we do not recognize. Our scientists believe the humans have been developing new technology in secret, technology we cannot understand or counter. Are you saying they might break free? Asked. Nodded slowly. Not might, will, perhaps in 10 years, perhaps in 5, perhaps tomorrow. Our quarantine has only delayed the inevitable. Humans do not stay contained. They adapt. They overcome. They survive. The assembly hall erupted in panicked voices. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for diplomatic contact. Some suggested fleeing to the far edges of the galaxy. Raised his tentacle again, and silence fell. There is one hope, the elder said. The footage also showed that humans can be allies. They reward kindness with kindness. They protect those who help them. They share their knowledge with friends as freely as they destroy enemies. What are you suggesting? Asked. I am suggesting that when the humans emerge, we greet them not with weapons but with open arms. We apologize for the past. We offer friendship and cooperation. We show them that we have learned from our ancestors' mistakes. Looked around the assembly hall one final time. Because if we do not, if we face them as enemies again, there will be no second quarantine. There will be no second chance. Humanity will sweep through this galaxy like fire through dry grass, and when the flames finally die down, only they will remain. The vote that day was unanimous. The ban on humans would not be lifted. Instead, something else would happen. The Galactic Assembly would prepare a welcome committee. They would gather their finest diplomats. They would collect their most valuable gifts, and they would wait. Because somewhere in a small solar system at the edge of the galaxy, humanity was preparing to rejoin the stars. And this time the galaxy would be ready, not for war, for friendship. The alternative was too terrible to imagine.